Right, before I get into the review, I just want to talk about the opening prologue. There's a girl who gets murdered, she falls and it makes like a snow angel, which you know is kind of creative, but then it turns into a giant cock, which I think pretty much sums up this remake. Okay, so this is the third time Black Christmas has been made. The first one is a stylized slasher, where a deranged man kills teens off one by one in a sorority house. Pretty simple premise. Then the 2006 remake is much of the same, except for I'd call this kind of the one. It has incest, skin cookies, and a severe case of jaundice. And then comes along the 2019 reboot. They seem to really bury the film after its release, which is probably why it made literally no money. It stars Imogen Poots and Carey Ulls. Rather than just starting in the house on Christmas Eve like the other ones, we spend the first 20 minutes watching them at work and doing this other boring stuff around campus. Blumhouse at the moment seems to be dragging up any old properties that they can and just repackaging them for today's youth. This film's got a really cringy tagline of "Slay girls," which in the film multiple times they say, "We're not girls, we're women." So for me, I just feel like it should have been "Slay women," which looks so much cooler, but they didn't use it. The filmmakers are clearly going for these progressive feminist messages. They're literally shouting them at the audience. They use this like edgy female dialogue, which is just the usual women talk about vibrators, women have periods, and oh yeah, women shit as well.
I hate these little cutie names for just taking a shit.
Even though this is made by a female director, the script feels so disingenuous. Sometimes this is done really well. There's a Netflix show called Glow, and the dialogue in that feels so genuine in comparison. Yet they use all of those things I just mentioned. In Glow, there's a scene where they're all mocking this girl for wearing big period pads, and it's pretty funny. But then in this film, they have a girl literally put a period cup in front of her friend, and it's so over the top and unnecessary. So all the girls in this are pretty much stereotypical. And then all the guys in the universe are all like douchey jerks. Even the old security guard, for some reason, he's just a jerk just because he's a guy.
I'm saying that my friend is missing.
Anyway, about 20 minutes into the film actually remembers what it's here to do. The girls in the film start getting text taunted, which for me is going to be the least scary way to creep someone out. At least in Scream, they actually bothered to phone you. So at the first real kill in this film, I wrote down, jump scares are not scary. And boy, is that all this film has to throw at you.
Stop it.
The next death scene is just as lame. They steal a scene from Exorcist 3, so they clearly think the audience doesn't have the attention span for it, so they have the girl talk over it and don't give it the time it needs to effectively build tension.
Oh, there you are.
This is when, for me, the film's unoriginality really started to show. They use a joke from Scary Movie later on in the film.
Hello?
Oh, thank God I got through. It's Helena's mom.
Oh, hi, Mrs. Rittenhouse.
Hello? I'm coming for you, my precious. Hi, Mom.
And then I felt like they just took the whole plot from a Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode. And we go through the film and they kill someone else off, and the way it's shot, you expect it to be some kind of really cool reveal, like they're gonna get to her and her head's gonna look like a jack-o'-lantern. I'm sure it was done in one of the other Black Christmases, but instead, no, they just show us the reaction shot of her friend and then that's it, we don't get to see anything. They did that twice in the film where they pay homage to the original kills, but they rush past them so quick, they lose all the horror in them. There's many times in the film where I really think the film doesn't know what it wants to do, and one of the big things is it sets up this idea that there's going to be a plot twist at the end.
You said he. What makes you think the author is a man?
They do it a couple of times in the film, but there's no payoff to it. And the big issue with that for me is if you're going to put it in there, it's got to mean something. You can't just try and misdirect the audience like that when you're just going to go with a lamer version of what it could have been. Honestly, I think if they had stuck with that and done the plot twist that they set up, I think it would have been more interesting. But I can see maybe Blumhouse, because they already did it with Happy Death Day, they didn't want to do that again. Instead, it has one of the cringiest endings I have ever seen in a film. It's just so bad. They have a literal battle of the sexes, which feels so unearned, it is laughable. I recently watched Waxwork, and that has a great battle scene at the end between a bunch of monsters and just old men. I was crying when I saw that because it was so funny. But in this, it's just not. The film's not funny enough for it to pay off, and it's not scary enough either for it to be anything. It's just so cringy.
We will never be broken.
Overall, it's a film that really didn't know what it wanted to do. If you wanted to make a drama about rape culture, then do that. it just isn't going to have the same impact when you force it onto a cringy horror flick. They also add this supernatural twist at the end where they say all of the guys in the film have been corrupted by this magical bust that is like taking over everyone and making them all evil. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like this completely undermines the rape plot they put in. So you're saying the guy's actions aren't his own fault and he has no responsibility as it was just magic? All I wanted from Black Christmas was some fun and some creative kills. Because this is meant to be a horror film, but this was just a real unimaginative downer. And the horror elements were so rushed and lazily done, I wouldn't even class it as a horror film. We're at the third version of this film. I'm totally fine with them wanting to change it and make the women the ones who fight back and win at the end. But there's so much more they could have done with that. They could have at least had them kill the guys in really like over-the-top creative ways, and it'd be like, oh shit, the women are really the ones who you want to fear in this. That would have been great. That would have been so much more progressive than what they actually did. And if you were drawn to this just because of the bit of star power they've got in it, Carrie Yules is literally just a cameo in it. Imogen Poots' performance is really good in this, but it's completely wasted. She gets given such a serious storyline and it completely clashes with everything else in the film and it just feels lost. Overall, I really dislike this film. It wasn't a horror film, it was just preaching at me, and I don't mind putting progressive messages and stuff, but when it's just done so on the nose, it's unbearable to watch and it comes off as just cringy. Like, technically it's a well put together film, it looks nice, you know, they did what they could with it, but I just feel like it's fighting against itself. It really doesn't want to be a horror film. It's like, why did you even make this? If you wanted to watch Black Christmas, watch the original or even the 2006 one, because I don't mind that one. It's different enough and it's definitely not this. Don't waste your time with this film.
I'm sorry.
So I'm going to give the film 2 catchy jingles out of 10.
What makes you think the author is a man?